Two Wheels this week, I meet a young man who rides a very, very old machine. Jeff has more from Fireblade Day when he meets the man who's covered over 180,000 miles and chats with ex-TT racer Phillip McCallen. And Wayne meets a big man, Canon, with an even bigger bike. Now, if you were a trendy 20-year-old about town and you wanted to impress, turn a few heads, which machine would you choose to ride? Well, let's see. An Aprilia RS 250, yeah, they're very smart. Maybe even one of the modern scooters with all the fancy fairings on them. That'd do the job, wouldn't it? But I'll bet not many people would choose to ride a 40-odd-year-old German scooter, the name of which many people never even heard of. Well, that's the choice for 20-year-old Fraser Weekes from Manchester. So Fraser, it's very different this. Tell me exactly what it is, this scooter then.
This is a Zundapp Bella R200 1955 with the dual seat model.
Why a Zundapp Bella? I mean, because I'm not familiar with the name. I mean, you're not old enough to remember it, so...
No, certainly not, no. They are very rare. A lot of people think it's either a Lambretta or a Vespa, but it is a bit different. I started off when I was 16. I wanted a 50cc scooter to get to and from work and college. I ended up buying a 50cc Rev and Go, a new one, plastic, all of it. Brought it home, of course my dad saw it. He says, what's this? So I said, well, why don't you get one, you know, we can go out on them, be great. So he said, I don't want one of them. If I'm going to get one, then I want one like I had back in the 50s.
Fraser is blaming you for him riding around on a Zundapp Bella now. No, he's not complaining about that, he likes it. But you were doing that in 1955, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
So, was it the Rolls Royce of scooters in its day?
I think so. As far as I was concerned, it was, yeah.
What, can you remember what you paid for your Zundapp Bella in 55?
£208.
Wow. And what was a weekly wage then?
Oh, probably about £7 a week.
That's a lot.
I was on £38 a month. Right. But I got a few bonuses on top of that.
So that's a few months' wages in 1955 for a little 200cc scooter. This is another one you've got here now.
Was.
What's this? An R204 is this?
This is an R204, which is an electric start model. It doesn't have a car battery on normally.
Oh, I know the car, but
that's purely for test purposes.
Right, I understand that. But it's similar to the 200, but not quite as rare, I don't think, is it?
Possibly not, no.
Right, okay. Now you're restoring this?
Yes.
So there's not many of these about. Where on earth do you get all your bits from? Is it difficult to find bits?
Here and there, auto jumbles, placing. Right. You get to know people that have got the same interest too.
Yeah.
You know, and help each other.
Of course, yeah. Let me just ask you something. Going back to getting bits and restoring, let me look at the state of that. I've seen better on the local tip, but I mean, that's the kind of condition some of these things are in when you get them. So.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
How on earth do you go about getting that back to anything like original? Where do you take that?
Well, we know a good lady out in Failsworth that'll cover that.
Yeah? Yeah,
she'll make a superb job of it, yeah.
Blimey, well, there's a lot of work to go into that. I mean, the bodywork and things like that, I mean, you must need to get that with it, do you? I mean, you can't...
Oh, yes, yeah, you get them, but sometimes they're corroded and that, so you have to have little bits of welding done here and there. And
yeah. What about riding them? Because you had one in 55. You kept that to 1960, I think.
1960.
So from 60, what, for 30 odd years then, you weren't on scooters or bikes, is that right?
Just cars.
Just cars, right. Well, we're all that against you. So what's it like now getting out on them? Do you still go out on them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I ride it.
Yeah?
On a nice day, you know.
Yeah. Must bring back some nice memories for you, that, does it?
Yeah, it is nostalgic.
A few more cars on the road now since 1955.
Oh, much more.
Just tell me about some of the little bits and pieces on it, Fraser, because I notice there's a compartment or something behind the number plate at the back. What's in there?
That's right, that's the battery box, which also incorporates the toolbox in there as well. We've still got a few of the original tools in there.
That's pretty rare, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
I've never seen that before, anything.
Yeah. You've got the usual things. You've got your front brake, your clutch, the carburettor, the choke on the carburettor is different to most scooters or bikes, if you like. It's a Bing carburettor and it's reversed. It's, you know, in the relaxed position, the choke is on, in the stretched position, and it's off. You've got your ignition key, which also operates.
Show me that ignition key. Does that come out?
Your ignition, yeah, it comes completely out.
So that's the ignition key.
That's right, yeah.
Wow, look at that. Right?
Very odd.
You can't even put it on a key ring, can you? It's got no hole in it.
No, there's nothing there. Nothing at all.
I'll tell you what I did notice. First thing I noticed was the gears are on the right.
They are,
like the old British stuff.
That's it.
Are you familiar with normal motorcycles? Well, the modern motorcycle with gears on the left.
Yeah, I've had motorbikes since being sort of 9 years old.
So how did you find this then?
A bit different. A bit different, especially getting off something like the Rev and Go when I was 16. Very different. But it soon adjusts.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a problem.
Are the brakes any good? Is it fast?
No.
You know?
Top speed of about 60-65 if you're lucky,
right.
with the wind behind you.
Right. Do you have to think a bit before you want to use the brake?
You do really, yeah.
Like I might want to stop in half a mile, so I'll pull the brake now.
That's more like,
one of them, right?
Yeah. Well, it's quite a weight behind it.
What do your mates think about this? Because there aren't many 20-year-olds riding around Manchester and surrounding districts on a Zundapp Bella.
No, there's not.
Are they impressed by it?
Some are, yeah. I mean, a few of my mates, they've got big bikes, and of course they take the mickey with it sometimes, but you know, at the end of the day, I can go out, they can park their bike up somewhere. When I come back, there's people looking at it, you know, and they relate to it. It's just nice to talk to people about it, whereas the modern bikes get ignored more or less.
That's right. So. I suppose you're never lonely, are you, going anywhere on this?
No, you're not. No, you're
always
not.
Loads of questions.
There's always someone asking you something about it, yeah.
Fireblades, you perhaps thought they were track day tours or good sports bikes? Well, they are, but they're also suitable for going all over the world. Just look at this one. And this gentleman here from the Netherlands, I'll probably get his name wrong, but it's Sjaak Lucassen.
Yeah,
is that close enough?
Close enough.
I'll call him Jack. I've nearly made friends with him. Tell us a bit about this bike. This was your bike before you decided to go where? To Australia first off?
Yeah, I decided to go to Australia in '92, just to visit the country, and I shipped my bike to Sydney, travelled around for 4.5 months, 38,000 kilometers, got hooked on travelling, and shipped it back.
Yeah.
After that, I went with a backpack to Indonesia. I loved Indonesia. I hated the backpack. So I decided to do the next trip completely with the bike.
Did you?
And well, I knew it was possible with the bike.
And is this what you call a backpack now for a bike? I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, more or less. You gotta stuff your gear somewhere, so.
It's absolutely massive. I mean, it must affect the handling in some way, yeah?
No, it's not too bad. You can still corner, you can still put the backs on the ground, knees on the ground.
Well, I could see you've got the back chamfered there. That was to give you some ground clearance, was it?
Yeah.
And is it quickly detachable if you need to get the wheel?
No, not at all. Because I heard about a lot of people that the gear rack always broke when they travel. So I bolted it directly on the subframe.
Right.
So, and it's very tight on. So it takes a while to get off.
Yeah. Really. And how do you get on for maintenance on this? I mean, just what do you do? Because altogether now, this bike's done, how many kilometres were you saying? 300?
287,000.
Nearly 300,000, which is sort of 180,000 miles, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
And you've looked after it yourself?
Yeah, mainly, yeah.
So on this trip, you serviced it yourself, did you?
Yeah, whenever I think something is necessary to do, I do it when I have time or when it's really necessary. Do the valves, set the valves myself, but there wasn't much to do on. The only thing what broke down was at 200,000 kilometers, an alternator.
Yeah. But you couldn't really complain, could you?
No, not at that mileage, no.
And look, I can understand it was your bike, so you thought I'll use this, but with the riding position on a blade, people wouldn't think it was suitable for that sort of journey, but you didn't have a problem with that. You were comfortable with it?
Yeah, not at all. No, I feel comfortable on it, in myself, but also physical and what's the other? Mental, but that's also very important. And but physically, I have no problems with it.
So what you're going to do now? This is part of your life. You're never going to be able to sell it, are you?
No, I'm not going to sell it. No.
So you just keep it. You're going to clean it?
No way, no way. Don't use dirty words.
Now there's one guy who's been kept particularly busy today at Blade Day, and that's Phillip McCallen here. He's been tweaking the suspension on blades here, there, and everywhere, haven't you, Phil?
Yeah.
But what's been a typical problem that you found, if there is a typical problem with suspension?
I think what happens with suspension now, it's pretty complicated on bikes to the man who doesn't know really how it works, and when you do understand it, it's like everything else is pretty straightforward, and a lot of people experiment with their bikes and adjust the suspension, but 9 out of 10 times they just go the wrong way. So today really has just been explaining to the man on his bike.
Politely, yeah.
Yeah, politely of course, because I mean I love people to explain to me things that I don't understand, and just really how suspension does work, how to adjust it, and hence getting the most from your machine.
Yeah, and because one of the things, people are going to come to you because you won the TT 11 times and 2 times on the blade as well.
Yeah, well that's my claim to fame on the blade.
Don't be so modest, but this suspension experience, you learned that through your racecraft, didn't you?
Yeah, well I mean it took 15 years of hard road work, and what gives me a slight advantage over the track men who do nothing but tracks is the road racing experience, like the TT experience, and that is what you do every day going to work. You ride on roads like I race on, so we can relate on the exact same terms.
That's right, and so you don't just set it up for a billiard smooth track day, or you can do, but I mean normally you're setting up for someone the optimum for everyday use. That's
you want your suspension that it is travels working to the maximum, compression and rebound damping's working properly, and the preload is right on your machine, plus the ride height and the fork drop. So it is, when you explain it all like that, it is pretty complicated, but when you break it down, it just makes a bike more enjoyable for the rider.
Yeah. And Tommy, to get back to your TT experience, 2-time winner in the production TT, and this is the very machine. Was this 2 years running this one, or did you?
Yeah, we won in '96. I won 4 TTs in 1 week,
bike,
and we won the production. That was the first time the production had been back really for 7 or 8 years. And of course, I proved the Fireblade could do it. And come the next year, we were actually running out of time before the TT, and Honda gave me a new bike. But I said, look, the one I had last year hasn't done nothing, we'll use it again. And they're going, you need a new one. I said, no, it'll be okay. So it was on my neck. We used the same one again, I won again.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
That now makes this bike has a place in history.
Yeah, well, it does. And how much, our viewers are going to be interested in how much of a standard blade it is for the production TT. It has to be standard, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is a totally standard blade. You can modify the fork internals if you want. There's a rear shock on it, there's a Micron race can on it, and basically that's it. The rest is just put together properly.
Yeah, and you found it handled anyway pretty sound, did it? And you just tweaked the suspension?
Yeah, that was all it was just fine tuning. I mean, a Fireblade basically is all the information Honda has gathered from race bikes put into a road bike. And I mean, these have been the superbike from the early 90s when they came out, and basically we took a superbike from the road, put it on the track, and the lap speed was well within it.
Yes, that's right. And of course it does help having a decent rider, Phil, doesn't it?
Yeah, the rider does have to contribute a bit, so we needed the rider as well.
Modest to the end.
Yeah. And after the break, Wayne meets a big man on an enormous Suzuki.
I can't believe it, eh? The chance has occurred for me to get a pair of handlebars in my hand and ride a bike, and I've refused. Why have I refused? Well, look at this. This has got to be, without a doubt, the biggest, the most powerful, and certainly the quickest Suzuki I have ever seen. And you have to be one big guy to ride it, and I can tell you what, the man who does ride it is as big as they come, Canon. And this is the man himself. Now then, Canon. Now, some of our viewers may in fact remember you from the past because you've done some pretty loopy things, haven't you? I mean, tell us.
Well, I've been known to do 1 or 2 silly things.
Yes, we know.
We've done the world's fastest wheelie attempt.
And you didn't do better at that, did you? Go on, tell us. What was your fastest speed?
167.8 at Jerby in 1997 on a 1200 Turbo Bandit.
Yeah, I remember you were only that far away really from breaking the record, weren't you?
Well, I did actually break the record and held it for 20 minutes until a good friend of mine, Jack Frost, pinched it off me, and then hurt himself considerably, as you probably know from the previous footage, but I didn't feel obliged to take it back off him. He's been lucky, really.
Yeah, otherwise you would have had him, yeah.
We've moved on a bit since then, we've done a few things, and I did sort of, after the 97 series, stop up the racing and concentrate on my business, and we've now come back into drag racing and, to do it professionally, and
you could say you've gone into drag racing in a big way, and I mean that in a big way. You are a big fella and you need a big bike, but don't you think you've gone one too far? Because this has got to be the biggest and most powerful thing I've ever been, well, in this case, leaning on.
Well, to be fair, not really. I mean, I've been involved with turbo bikes now since 1993, and this is basically the pinnacle of a turbo motorcycle. You know, it doesn't resemble, you know, a street-looking motorcycle.
Does it heck? No. I mean, it doesn't
as
at
much
all.
as what it could do.
No, I mean, it just, I mean, right down to the wheels and tyres, they're big, they're small and everything. And then you've got,
Black
I mean,
and
the
round.
chain, look at the flaming chain. Even though it looks like a chain as we know it, it's what, nearly 10 foot long and blinking twice the width of anything else.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you know, when you're making 600 brake horsepower and pulling my, you know, small weight, you know, you need to have, you know, the amount of strength in the chain that we've got, you know.
Yeah, is that the power output of that? 600 brake horsepower?
It is an estimated power figure, but the time that it runs and, you know, with me on it suggests that, you know, it's between 550 and 600 brake horsepower.
We've got to talk money. I mean, there must be an awful amount of money spent on such as this.
Yeah, I mean, well, to give you an example briefly, the new bike that's replaced this has cost in excess of $50,000. You know, and at the time to build this would have been about the same. It is an American-built motorcycle, which I sort of talked myself into buying from a good friend of mine from the States, and you know, it has got all the latest technology, and it is, you know, far superior to any European funny bike. You know,
that's its category, funny bike.
It's the category that we race in is funny bike,
right.
which is basically a stock appearing motorcycle, resembling, must have a headlight, must have a body kit that resembles a street going motorcycle.
Yeah.
But basically wheelbase and engine and turbo nitrous, you know, as you require it basically, to make the power to do the job.
And what about then, because I know it'll be on the thoughts of a lot of people watching this, how quick does it go? You know, you must get it. Hey mister, how fast is it?
Well, the bike has run 6.78 seconds over the quarter mile at 206 miles an hour.
Strike a light, it's just a bit quick then, isn't it?
Well, basically it is the fastest Suzuki funny bike in the world, without exception.
There's a lot of work goes involved. I mean, for a very short period of time you're riding the bike.
Yeah.
You know, hours and hours, I'm sure. How many people are involved in this?
Well, there's basically three main people involved. There's myself and my two crewmen, which basically a bike of this sort of level you can't run on your own.
No.
It's just not possible. You know, I mean, basically there's that much stress factor involved. If you break something, you've got to come back. You know, you might have to replace an engine. You know, you might have to change the top end, you know, put new pistons in it, you might have to put a new turbo on it. You just can't do that on your own.
No.
And, you know, if I hadn't have had the support, you know, and the backing from, you know, the two people that helped me, I certainly wouldn't have entered into it.
No. So it's a true team effort.
Basically, yeah, you know, I mean, we are a team. I mean, we're still a bit like Mr. Men at the minute, but we are getting there. You know.
A bit like Mr. Men. Tell us a bit about this then, Danny. Come on now, because
well,
I mean, the thing is, I've got to admit to a lot of our viewers, Chris, this looks very confusing. So.
Yeah, well, it will be. I mean, it's got state-of-the-art technology with the bike. It's basically based on a 1985 GSX 1100. The only bits resembling, you know, the engine are the cases and the cylinder head. Everything else is aftermarket.
How big in cc's are we on now then?
It's 1425 cc.
Right. That's big.
It runs a 3-speed automatic transmission.
It's a bit like a Honda C90 really, doesn't it?
Not quite.
No,
but
I don't think it is.
The clutch mechanism is just like a Honda C90. There is no clutch mechanism on this bike. It's rev it and go basically.
Yeah. And you hit a button to change gear, presumably.
And you hit a button to change gear. With a 3-stage nitrous injection system, which is controlled by a computer, which puts the nitrous in over a progression, so that basically you don't put an amount of power in and it breaks the tyre away.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you put an amount of horsepower in and it just goes bang, A, it hurts the engine, and B, you know, you end up with tyre spin. And the object of this game is obviously to go as fast as you can, as smooth as you can.
Yeah. But you better get your gear on and go and put this thing through its paces.
Yeah, we better have a go anyway and see what we can do today, you know.
And I'll go and put the kettle on.
Okay, bud.
Well, Cannon, I tell you what, that was remarkable. I've been messing around with bikes now for 25 years. I have never seen anything quite so amazing, honestly. I'm stunned, gobsmacked. Are you pleased, anyway?
I am pleased, yeah. You know, after the track conditions that we've had this weekend, we've just done his best 60-foot time on the bike, and also it's the first time we've actually strung 2 runs together, trouble-free, you know, perfect runs. In the sense of the fact that I've had to shut off on both runs at the top end of the track because the bike obviously overpowers the track. And with a tyre this big, if you do get a tyre shake or wheel spin, it magnifies so much with the tyre being so big, and unfortunately even I can't hang on to it.
After today and after seeing it, looking at these times, I mean, at midpoint here, you're 146 miles an hour, you're only 20 miles an hour slower than you were at the finishing point. I mean, and like you say, to back off, everything is definitely going towards you definitely being the quickest boy out there. And in fact, we're going to keep our eye on you, and if you don't, you'll have me to answer to, all right?
Well, I'll do my best,
I'll throw my weight about. We wish you all the best.
Thanks, Wayne. Cheers.
I'm worried.
On Two Wheels next week, Wayne spends the day getting filthy dirty and covered in mud at the Red Marley Hill Climb. And Richard Hammond continues his look at 400cc inputs. Next week, he rides Yamaha's 400 Phaser.